Kristina enters Charlie's back entry and finds the gas on the floor, just as a Molotov drink is hurled through the window. Alexis meets with Sidwell. Sidwell speaks to someone on the phone from the parapet at Windmere and reports that the task has been completed. He walks inside and Alexis has arrived to greet him. She has questions regarding all of the products he will be importing, but he assumed Marco would handle this. She says that Marco is a new associate, and she and Diane always supervise new associates and their customers for the first 6 months. Sidwell believes this is a waste of time, and that Marco is being scrutinized because he is his son. Alexis notes his problem and begins discussing some of her issues in his contract with the local dock authority. She has marked various pages that concern her. At the hospital, Liz speaks with Isaiah, who is covering Portia's for the evening. Liz is relieved, as Portia has been here far too often lately. Later, Isaiah notices Liz staring at a photo of Lucky on her phone. It's from Aiden, and it shows Lucky hanging from the side of a cliff. Liz thinks her son is having a good time with his father. Marco sees the fire. Marco calls Lucas when he is cleaning up Carly's apartment. Marco is in his car and has not heard anything from his mother. Suddenly he says, "What the hell?" He informs Lucas that he needs to call him back. Joss arrives at Carly's and engages Lucas in conversation. She's there to give Trina and Kai some alone time. Lucas tells her about his meal with Marco, and how there are leftovers in the refrigerator. Joss updates her uncle on the christening and the situation with Natalia. Daisy's party is coming to an end. The majority of the Quartermain family has departed their home. Carly offers that Sasha take Daisy up to the nursery because she appears exhausted, but Sasha prefers to keep Daisy with her in her bassinet. In the entryway, Michael thanks Sunny for assisting him with putting the kids to bed. Jason appears to speak with Sunny before pulling him aside. There comes a knock at the door and Michael answers it. It is Molly, who is late due to court. Michael invites her in and informs her that there are a few people remaining, but Kristina had to go to open Charlie's. Meanwhile, Jason informs Sunny that Natalia has not arrived at the airfield yet. Marco rescues Kristina. Back at Charlie's, Kristina attempts to extinguish the fire with a fire extinguisher. However, it becomes out of control, and she begins to scream for help. Marco kicks in the front door to check who is there, and Kristina begs for aid. When Marco enters, she informs him that she is the only one present. He grabs a tarp, and they cover themselves before leaving out the back door. Outside Charlie's, Marco and Kristina escape safely as Dante arrives and checks on his sister before inquiring what happened. Kristina gasps, "Someone attempted to kill me." News of the fire spreads. At the Q&A session, Jason and the others enter the living room, and Carly asks Jason if he asked Sunny about Natalia's appearance today. Jason did, but he cannot tell her what is going on. Sunny discusses parenting with Michael, who wants to ensure that his children receive the same kind of attention that Sunny did. Sunny feels delighted to be his father, and they exchange a heartfelt embrace. Molly glances at Daisy and tells Sasha that she is precious. Sasha appreciates her visit and understands how difficult it must be for her. Molly says she's still thinking about what Irene may look like now, and Sasha says she knows because she thinks the same thing about Liam. Cody interrupts with bad news. He might have eaten all of the small sausage thingies. Jason goes out into the foyer, takes a call, and then notifies Sunny that there is a fire at Charlie's. Carly, Sasha, and Molly examine at images Carly shot at the christening, as Cody chats to Michael about his father and Jason's abduction. Michael notes that when this happens they continue as if everything is okay. Carly takes Sasha aside and offers to watch Daisy if she needs to relax, but Sasha refuses, claiming she is too excited to sleep. Molly then receives a call from a buddy at the PCPD informing her of a 3-alarm fire at Charlie's. Michael has memories to the fire he was caught in, while Molly is concerned about her sister. Cody offers to drive Molly to Charlie's. Natalia's unresponsive. When Chase and another cop arrive at Metro Court, the man protecting Natalia's front door peeks around the corner. Chase pounds on the door, claiming they need to chat. Anna arrives with the key from the hotel manager and opens the door. They find Natalia unconscious and call for an ambulance. Chase looks for a pulse. Natalia is no longer alive. Natalia has been admitted to the hospital, is in the emergency room and is unresponsive. Liz and Isaiah do CPR, but they are unable to save her and call her time of death. Isaiah inquires as to if she has identification, but Liz is well aware of her identity. Back at Carly's, Lucas is surprised that Natalia disrupted the christening, and wonders if she was intoxicated. Joss could not tell. Just then Lucas receives a call from Liz. Lucas goes to the hospital, and Liz explains she hasn't been able to contact Marco. She contacted Lucas because she knew they were having supper. Lucas is perplexed. Marco departed to see his mother, so where is he? Questions about the fire. The firefighters work to extinguish the fire at Charlie's while Marco and Kristina are treated by paramedics. Sunny and Jason arrive, and Kristina leaps into her father's arms. Jason notices Marco and wants to know what he is doing here. Kristina explains that Marco saved her life, and that she would have died otherwise. Kristina describes how she was called in, smelled the gas, the fire was started, and Marco saved her. Marco claims he was on his way to Metro Court to see his mother when he spotted the fire and noticed a car in the parking lot. He paused to make sure no one was inside. Marco explains that he needs to get to his mother, but Sunny says he won't go anywhere. Alexis and Molly worry. Cody takes Molly to Charlie's and she's in a wreck. She is concerned that this is another firebomb like the one Michael got caught in, and she does not want to lose her sister. Cody reminds her that they won't know anything until they get there, so she must quit torturing herself. Back at Windmere, Alexis is sifting through papers while Sidwell drinks. She receives a call from Molly and hears that there is a fire at Charlie's, and Kristina is not answering her phone. Alexis says she will be right there. Later, Sidwell informs Alexis that the launch is imminent, and he inquires whether she is certain Kristina was in the building. She has no idea and she just has to get out of there. Jack gets caught. At Carly's, Joss is eating leftovers when she notices Jack outside the kitchen window. She allows him in and he says he was testing her. He is there to see her, not Carly. He is impressed by her plot to distract Emma, which Vaughn informed him about. Joss believes this could have been a phone call. Was he hoping to visit her mother? Jack becomes irritated and tells her that he is her superior, and it is inappropriate for her to challenge him. She wonders if his superior is aware that he is dating his agent's mother. Carly appears and asks why Jack is present. Jack says he was hoping to see her. Joss discovers she has a quiz tomorrow and returns home to get some notes. Joss leaves and Carly tells Jack about the fire at Charlie's, which triggered her and transported her back to the ICU with Michael. Scene of the crime. Evidence is collected in Natalia's room, and Chase believes the spilled medications and drink point to suicide. Anna says perhaps this might all be staged, and it appears she was about to go, adding that she was in the process of packing. Chase recalls the man racing away from the door when they arrived, so Anna says they must find him. Anna and Chase soon arrive at the hospital, and Lucas fills them in on Marco's muddled text from Natalia, including his claim that she was likely drunk. Marco went to see her, but had to hang up because something unexpected happened while he was driving, and he has no idea what it was. Anna requests that Isaiah perform an autopsy, but Lucas refuses until Marco confirms his mother's death. Alexis unleashes on Sunny. Outside Charlie's, a paramedic recommends Marco and Kristina go to the hospital since they inhaled a lot of smoke. Marco requests that you at least get the phone from his car. Suddenly, Molly appears and embraces her sister, relieved that she is okay. The fire chief informs Dante that the fire has been out, and his guys are working to determine the reason. Dante phones Anna to report the fire at Charlie's, which appears to have started with an accelerant. He claims Kristina was the only one in there, and she is alright thanks to Marco. Alexis arrives soon after, relieved that Kristina is safe, and the lawyer understands that it is not due to Sunny. She lashes out at Sunny, stating she has always thought Kristina working with him was a poor idea since he takes violence with him wherever he goes. She cries, "I will not bury another daughter." Meanwhile, Marco insisted to the paramedic that he did not need to go to the hospital. Dante, who had just hung up the phone with Anna, urges him to leave. Michael has flashbacks. Michael is still having flashbacks of the fire at Sunny's penthouse while at the queue. He is shaken and enters the living room, where Sasha and Daisy are the only ones remaining. Michael feels relieved when he receives a text message confirming Kristina's safety. Michael prepares a drink, but stops when he realizes he can't have alcohol with the pain medication he took that morning. She had no idea he was in so much suffering still. He claims he doesn't normally need the medicines, but he anticipated they'd be used a lot today. He tells that he has some residual nerve damage and will soon be pain-free. Michael says it's not as painful as the debridement he had after the fire, and he's relieved Kristina won't have to go through it. During the show's final moments, Carly receives word that Kristina is well. She feels relieved. The news of the fire drove her to shut down, and the rage she felt that night when Michael was injured came flooding back. She claims she couldn't do anything for Michael in the clinic, except listen to him moan. Jack informs her that she is suffering from PTSD, and that he has been through similar experiences. She appreciates that he understands how she feels. She hasn't told Joss because she will blame Sonny, and she would be correct. She had no idea what she would do if something happened to Donna. He embraces her. Sasha informs Michael that when he was in the burn unit at General Hospital, he asked for her, but he was drugged by the time she arrived. She had always wondered what he wanted to say to her. He said he wanted to tell her to look after his daughter regardless of what happened to him, and she did. Michael claims his children are safe, and he intends to keep them that way. He'll never be like his father, and his children will never experience anything like that fire. Marco arrives at the hospital, and Lucas notices him, coated in ash, and wonders what happened to him. That's when Anna interrupts to ask him about his mother. Marco panics and asks if she is present. He rushes into a room and comes face to face with her body. At Sidwell's, he is on the phone, ranting at someone, saying that if Sonny's daughter was in that fire, there would be hell to pay. His instructions were clear. Make sure the building was vacant. Kristina informs her mother that they don't know what caused the fire, but Alexis blames Sonny. She vows she will not lose another daughter. Kristina informs her mother that she needs to get checked out at GH, and Cody offers to drive them both. After they leave, Sonny and Jason notice the fire chief approaching Dante. They listen as he informs the detective that this was certainly arson and Charlie's is now a crime scene. Tracy rants at Brooke Lynn on the next General Hospital episode about her displeasure with being right. Anna tells Chase that she received something from Metro Court security. Outside of Charlie's, Joss tells Vaughn that Sonny brings death wherever he goes. Marco at the hospital believes that is not the whole story. Sonny informs Jason, if Marco becomes collateral damage, then be it. The night in Port Charles was cooler than usual, with a bitter wind sweeping through the streets like a warning. Kristina stayed at Charlie's pub later than she intended. The lights inside gleamed brightly, but the throng was shrinking, and familiar faces were leaving. She continued to sip her water, resolutely seated at the bar, attempting to overcome her inner turmoil. She was overwhelmed by too many feelings, including frustration, anxiety, and bewilderment. Conversations about Natalia had been going on all day, and while Kristina attempted to remain calm, she could feel the anxiety tearing at her stomach. She didn't want to leave just yet, but she was visibly agitated. Blaze had texted her something short and evasive earlier, and Kristina had been distracted ever since. Her instincts told her that something was wrong, but she didn't want to jump to conclusions and be that person who always expected the worst. Even so, the unease persisted. She drummed her fingers nervously on the bar top, her mind a jumbled mass. Outside, the wind picked up. The parking area was practically empty, except for a few cars scattered in the darkness. A figure stood by the doorway, observing her. Marco had been following Kristina for a while, not in a stalkerish way, but because he was concerned. Sonny had requested him to keep an eye on her quietly. Given all that was going on with Blaze and Natalia, Sonny did not want Kristina to be caught off guard if the media or anybody else came for her. Some may claim that Marco took the position too seriously, but recently it was more than simply obligation. He was beginning to care. Perhaps too much. Kristina was tired and emotionally spent as she stood up and put her coat over her. Marco came out of the shadows just in time to see a man stumble toward her from a side lane. Kristina did not notice him until it was too late. The man, visibly intoxicated and probably under the influence of something stronger, grabbed her and muttered something incomprehensible. She struggled with him, pushing back and yelling for aid. That is when Marco relocated. He got to her in seconds, ripping the man off her with a crisp order and a good blow that knocked him reeling. Kristina's eyes widened with surprise as she comprehended what had just occurred. She was still shaking as Marco grabbed her arm and swiftly led her to his car. "Are you okay?" he asked, examining her expression as they approached the passenger side. She nodded numbly. "I believe so. Who was that?" "No idea," Marco replied. "Let's get you out of here." They drove in quiet at first, Kristina trembling as the adrenaline wore off. Marco kept monitoring the rearview mirror, looking for anything unusual. He was well aware of how unpredictable things could be in this town, particularly when it came to family feuds and drug-related violence. He disliked coincidences, and this one seemed too timely, too specific. Kristina eventually ended the stillness. "Thank you. I didn't see him coming." "You shouldn't have been out that late alone," Marco said gently, not as a reproach but as a genuine worry. "I know," she replied, running a hand through her hair. I needed time to think." "What about Natalia?" he guessed. She looked at him shocked. "What do you know about Natalia?" "I hear things," Marco stated thoughtfully. "And Sonny is worried about you." "So am I." Kristina gazed down at her hands. "It's complicated." Marco nodded. "Most important things are." By the time he dropped her off at her apartment, she appeared calmer. Still rattled but less vulnerable. She turned to thank him again before stepping inside. That should have marked the end of the night. But it wasn't. Less than an hour later, Marco's phone rang. The voice on the other end seemed urgent. One of General Hospital's nurses. "We just brought in a patient with an overdose. Female. Natalie Rogers. You are listed as an emergency contact." Marco's blood became chilly. When he arrived, the hospital was buzzing with activity. Natalia had been discovered unconscious in her hotel suite. There were pills scattered across the bed, and her pulse was feeble when the paramedics came. Nobody knew how long she had been there. The attending doctor gave Marco the rundown, but he barely listened because his mind was racing. He sat in the waiting room, hands clutched tightly, staring at the floor, as recollections of the last time he saw Natalia flooded his mind. Their final argument. Her lack of transparency. Her increasing solitude. He tried to communicate with her, but she pushed him away, just as she did with everyone else while she was spinning. Kristina. His stomach wrenched as he remembered what she had said earlier, how off she was with Natalia. There had been hints and clues leading up to this moment, but he had overlooked them. They all did. He texted Kristina a short message. "Natalia is in the hospital. Overdose. I'm here." Kristina arrived within 20 minutes, her face pallid and distressed. She hadn't even bothered to change her clothes from earlier. When she saw Marco, she approached him and sat alongside him. Her breath stopped in her throat. "Is she?" she whispered. "She's stable," Marco explained. "For now." Kristina gulped back tears, the weight of shame resting hard on her chest. She did not even reach out. "I did not know. I assumed she was simply trying to escape the press blaze, or she didn't want to be helped," Marco grumbled. "That's always been the problem." For a while they sat silently. The nurse returned and informed them that Natalia was awake. Marco let Kristina go first. Natalia was pale with heavy lids, but she recognized Kristina right away. The genuine emotion they shared hung in the air, thick and stifling. Kristina stretched for her hand and gripped it strongly. "I'm sorry," Natalia said quietly. "I wasn't sure how to deal with things. The pressure. This is the judgment. I did not want to be a burden." "You're not a burden," Kristina declared vehemently. "You never were." Natalia's eyes filled with tears. "I pushed you away because I believed it would make things simpler. But it did not. It made things worse." Kristina did not say anything. She simply gripped her palm tighter and let the stillness speak for them both. Outside, Marco looked out the window. He had a complicated history with Natalia, one twisted in choices that neither of them could reverse. But seeing her in that bed destroyed something within him. He'd spent so much time attempting to remain distant from the emotional impact. Now it was unavoidable. After Natalia had been medicated and rested, Marco and Kristina strolled out of the hospital into the cool night air. It was after 3 a.m., but neither could sleep. "I should have seen it coming," Kristina murmured gently. She was spiraling. Marco gazed at her. "So was I. We all were." They strolled softly to his car. Kristina paused abruptly and stared at him. Why are you following me tonight? You stated that it was sunny, but it is not the only reason, is it? Marco paused. I wanted to make sure you were safe. Do you care about me? She asked, her voice almost shaking. He did not evade her gaze. Yeah, I do. Kristina took a step closer, her eyes searching his. After everything, after tonight, I'm not even sure how I feel. But I know I do not want to be alone. Marco nodded slowly. You're not. She leaned toward him, and he drew her into a soft embrace. It was not about romance yet. It was about comfort, safety, and appreciating the fragility of the situation. When he drove her home, they didn't say anything. The weight of the night was plenty, but something had shifted. The way Kristina stared at him. Marco instinctively reached for her hand before she stepped out of the car. Natalia's overdose had shocked them both to the core. However, in its shadow it made one thing clear. Life was too unpredictable to waste time with half-truths and emotional walls. Marco waited outside until her apartment lights switched on. Only then did he drive away, the city quiet around him, the road ahead unclear but now real. Taking someone's watching me to a whole new level. General Hospital teasers suggest that this might be the person haunting baby Daisy. GH fans who have been watching the most recent episodes will be aware that Willow may be plotting revenge on Sasha and Michael. Talk about a plot twist, right? This person might be stalking baby Daisy. That said, things will only become creepier from here on out. Of course, General Hospital fans on the internet had a lot to say about the situation. Some even stated, I'm thinking Wiley. The youngster playing him appears to be quite little, yet they announced a few weeks ago that he is 9. Drew's words reached him. The mix-up at the hospital could have been added by the writers to confuse us. Another admirer of the show said, I believe it is Michael. I'm not sure why, but since he returned, he's been ruthless. Didn't he advise Sasha to amend her will so that if anything happened to her, he would have complete custody of the baby? Could it be Willow? And there was also this comment. I agree that it is Willow. I don't think it's Sidwell because Daisy was wearing a different color onesie yesterday, which made Sasha realize that someone had been in her room. It would be ridiculous for Sidwell or someone working for him to come in and change her onesie, making Sasha suspicious. Willow appears to have snapped and now believes Daisy is her daughter. Or she is attempting to kidnap Daisy since she has lost custody of Wiley and Amelia. It goes without saying that General Hospital viewers will have to tune in every day to find out what happens next. ABC broadcasts General Hospital on weekdays. Check the local listings for times. In the meantime, please share your ideas in the comments box below. Carly had suspected something was wrong for days, but couldn't put her finger on it. Baby Daisy had been irritable, agitated, and unusually attentive for someone so young. At first, Carly dismissed it as usual infant behavior, but then there were the minor details. A toy in a different position from where she left it. A subtle perfume lingered in the nursery when no one was around. The baby monitor was blinking, even though she hadn't touched it. These clues began to accumulate in the back of her mind, and Carly, who had endured years of drama and instability in Port Charles, couldn't ignore the signs any longer. Carly was not the only one who noticed. Sonny, who had recently been struggling with his own troubles, became agitated when Carly stated her concerns. He offered to have someone from his security team sweep the property, but Carly declined, stating she needed to figure it out herself first. She did not want to live in dread or believe she was overreacting. Still, her instincts warned her that something, or someone, was watching. Daisy's presence in the family had already elicited significant reactions. Born amid uncertainty and secrets, she represented both promise and the weight of the past. Her paternity had just recently been proven, and there were still whispers and uncertainties. That kind of legacy made her a target, whether deliberate or not. Carly began to wonder who had a vested interest in Daisy, enough to keep an eye on her, possibly stalking her. Sam stopped over one afternoon and immediately observed Carly's worried demeanor. They sat in the kitchen as Daisy napped upstairs, and Carly eventually opened up. Sam, a mother and ex-PI, took her concerns seriously. She questioned issues Carly hadn't considered, about the baby monitor system, the locks, the neighbors, and the recent arrivals and departures. Sam offered to help unofficially, and Carly felt relieved that she wasn't alone. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Carly sat by Daisy's cot and watched her sleep. She couldn't get the impression that they weren't really alone in the house. The shadows in the hallway appeared darker. The squeak of a floorboard sent her heart racing. When a branch brushed against the window pane, Carly nearly leaped out of her skin. She couldn't live in this situation, not knowing who was lurking. She needed to find answers. The following day, Sam returned with a plan. She had gotten her hands on a modest surveillance system and suggested they put a few covert cameras throughout the house, not only in the nursery, but also outside near the entrances and backyard. Jason, upon learning what they were up to, offered his assistance as well. He kept his distance from Carly these days, but his protectiveness of Daisy and the entire family remained unchanged. He said little, but his presence reminded Carly of all the times he had turned up just when she needed him. 2 nights later, their patience was rewarded, or perhaps their greatest fears were realized. At approximately 2:37 a.m., one of the exterior cameras detected activity. A shadowy figure glided along the side of the house, pausing near Daisy's nursery window before disappearing into the night. The footage was blurry, with the man covered in dark and his face obscured, but it was real. Carly and Sam watched it over and over, their adrenaline pumping as the reality hit in. Somebody was out there. Someone had been nearby Daisy's chamber. Jason immediately insisted on increased protection. He hired a squad he trusted, no questions asked, and Carly's house was instantly under 24-hour surveillance. But as safe as the new safeguards made her feel, they didn't solve the most pressing question. Who was watching Daisy? They started looking into probable suspects, and the list wasn't as small as they'd want. Esme was believed killed after falling from the Windmere Tower, but she was never found. A few recent sightings in the area raised fears that she was still alive. And Esme had ties to so many people in Port Charles. She had enough motivation and history to hold a grudge against almost anyone, particularly those associated with the Corinthos family. Then there was Gladys, who had recently been discharged from a psychiatric facility and claimed to be in recovery. She has a history of unpredictable conduct and manipulative tendencies. While she'd never showed Daisy any genuine ill will, her preoccupation with family status and riches had previously rendered her unstable. Could she be relapsed? Even Ava, despite her tight friendship with Avery and recently rebuilt faith in Carly, could not be completely ruled out. Ava continued to keep pieces of her past hidden, and her unpredictable nature made her a wild card in any circumstance. Carly despised doubting herself, but recent occurrences had taught her to remain vigilant. Nina abruptly joined the picture. Carly had tried to maintain a cordial relationship with Nina for Willow's sake, especially since Daisy was Nina's granddaughter. But Carly had seen Nina near Daisy's pram at Kelly's a few days before, too close for comfort and too inquisitive. Nina had pretended to be kind, just another grandmother appreciating her youngster, but something about the relationship felt off. Carly recalls Nina's eyes lingering on Daisy, as if she saw something no one else did. Could Nina be struggling more than she admits? Willow quickly discarded the idea. She'd recently spent time with Nina, observed how she was doing, and claimed that, while Nina still regretted her damaged relationship with Willow, she wasn't crazy. But Willow couldn't dispute that Nina had become more secluded and thoughtful. She still hadn't recovered from losing Wiley's confidence, and Daisy symbolized something Nina had always desired: a second chance with her daughter, or even a means to change the ending of the story she had ruined. Sam believed the stalker was more skillful and deliberate. She began looking into persons who had recently traveled through Port Charles, new hospital hires, delivery personnel, and strangers noticed in the background of security film from various locations. A few names appeared, one of which sent shivers down Carly's spine: Nellie's former jail infirmary nurse Lenora. She had vanished following Nellie's death, and was said to have gotten fascinated with the woman she had cared for. There were even rumors that Lenora believed Nellie had been wronged, and wanted to clear the record. Could it be that someone was chasing Daisy not out of vengeance, but out of warped loyalty to a lady who had died?